Well, let's talk about the elephant in the room. 7.62 by 39 and 5.45 ammo are not readily available and not cheap anymore. And let's talk about the second elephant in the room. ARs are cheap and AKs are expensive. Like, yeah, if you ever told me like that it would be more expensive to shoot an AK and that an AK would be more expensive to buy than an average AR, I would have laughed. AKs have become the Gucci guns, but only to the new people. The people who are hanging on to what the AK used to be, which is partly me, um, they no longer mesh with the today AK buyer because the today AK buyer sees it as a unique, different, boutique, however you want to look at it. Like the AK is now like the expensive gun, which is just blows my mind.
Premium performance doesn't have to come with a premium price tag. The Voodoo X series combines trusted EOTech quality with the features shooters rely on most. Adjustable parallax for clarity at any distance, an illuminated reticle for all lighting conditions, and magnification ranges for every scenario. Whether you're chasing big game or ringing steel, this lineup can do it all. The Voodoo X series from EOTech, precision within reach.
Well, he probably doesn't need any introduction, but for anybody who's listening and doesn't know, we want to welcome to the show Mr. Justin McMillion of JMAC Customs. Finally able to get him to sit down. Welcome to the show, Justin. Welcome to Whiskey and Windage, brother.
Man, thanks for having me, guys, and thanks for taking the time to chat with me today. And I'm excited. Let's do this. I'm looking forward to talking to you guys about some guns and some cool things that we got going on. And heck yeah, man, let's get it going.
This is just great because what you guys have done to modernize the AK platform, it's when people think I want to upgrade this thing and get it to look more, tactical, it's your name is always in the mix if it's not at the front. So, we're glad to have you.
Well, I appreciate
So,
that. Glad to
any,
be here.
anybody who doesn't know, Justin, just give a quick 30-second elevator pitch of who JMac is, what you guys do.
I'm going to be the first to say I'm the worst salesperson for my company. I just talk about what we do. But JMac, basically, we started JMac as building custom guns. Like that's where JMac Customs came from. We would have, I worked in the coal industry. And some of the executives wanted some really nice guns. And they knew I was into guns. And they're like, hey, would you put this together for me? I'm getting ready to go on a hog hunt or whatever it was. So I would build a custom gun for a hog hunt specifically. I put thermal optics on it, suppressor, like do the whole nine, like a really nice top of the line gun. And that worked great, but there's only so many coal executives. So you start running out of contacts pretty quick on that. So we started going to gun shows and trying to advertise and, man, it got tough. Like, we were barely able to, and sometimes weren't able to even pay, the hotel bill based on the sales from the gun shows. So, we knew something had to change. We had a bunch of inventory that we had to pay for, and we had to take a second mortgage out on our home. So the business model that we had originally put together was just completely crumbling. And then what is known as JMAC Customs today actually formed based off of that. I always like the AK. I'm a huge AK collector. Romania is like my niche for AK collecting. I have all kinds of Romanian guns. And I know it's probably one of the cheapest, variants, but it's just appealing to me.
Romy gang.
The Romy gang.
Romy
So
gang.
I was like, hey, let's make some cool parts for AKs that don't exist. We actually first started off, let's make replica parts of something like I was showing you, Matt. I've got some rare stuff here. let's take something really rare that's never been really imported, or if it has been imported, like super low quantities, like less than 20 or less than 10, and then make copies of that. And then, of course, it'll be a US version of, but then guys can build their clone guns based on those copies. So that's really where we got our start in manufacturing, design and manufacturing. We were copying those products and we were getting some traction. We were selling on the AK files, AK forum, and we got banned from there. Like it wasn't even like 6 months in. They, you know, you guys know all that anyway. So we got booted
Oh,
from there, and then I was like, "Hey, let's make some custom parts. Like let's make like design our own, not like copy something. Let's take an idea and modernize the AK." So the first one of our first products was the Mod 1 stock adapter. And there was some other M4 stock adapters on the market at the
hmm,
time, but they were all geared for the standard AKM. So ours was specifically for the 4.5 folders. At the time, those were pretty readily common coming in. You had your Arsenal, SLR series, and then there was still a
Mhm.
bunch of parts kits out there being built, like the AKS 74s, and then, a lot of people were doing the Kyber Pass clones. So we made that buffer tube adapter, and then, man, the rest is history. It's just been modern upgrade, modern upgrade, modern upgrade for the AK. And then along the line, we branched off into a couple other territories too. We did some AR stuff, we did some SCAR stuff, Evo. So we've covered a lot of different platforms, if you will. But JMac probably to most people is known as an AK company, even though we have 700 active SKUs and we cover actually a lot of territory.
yeah, yeah. And it's really cool to hear the story because we've heard you say it. You guys have made some videos about it, but it really does define the like the American dream. Even though
Mm.
the first rendition, the first iteration wasn't quite the one that hit the nail on the head, but, all of those, those tries at it, those swings at it, eventually paid off to where you guys have created a brand and a name for yourself, and it allows you that freedom now to get out in there and try new things and, create new product lineups too. And I just think it's just really cool to see that, the American dream is alive and well, you know, in the firearm space.
Yeah, absolutely. And I got to give a lot of credit to my wife. When we started JMac, she was working a job. It was an hourly wage job, and she was just her hourly paid job. And she come home frustrated every day, and we weren't even married at the time. And I was like, "Quit your job. We're going to start a business." And she just looked at me like, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah, we're going to start a business. Just quit your job." And we it's totally on a whim. Like she quit. We got our business
Mm.
license like the next day, and like it was just bam, 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 bam. But for the longest time, it was just her and I. Everything JMac, like design work, our dining room was the warehouse for the longest time, right here in this house. And she was quality control. She would take a thread gauge and check the different muzzle devices. She would package every single one up, and she would ship the orders herself. We would come in to the house, and there would be like the front porch would be completely covered in boxes. We would pull the boxes inside the house, and they had just come back fresh from nitride. So I don't know if you guys have ever smelled freshly nitrided parts, but imagine
The
a
whole
residential
Mm.
home smelling like fresh. Yeah. So like you walk into our house
Mm.
and you just smell gun parts immediately. But, that grew out of the dining room into like the laundry room, and it overtook the laundry room, and it was in the garage. And it was just like, hey, we got to do something. Like, this is just, going to completely
Yeah,
overwhelm us. So I got to give Ash like major props, because without her being by my side, she was the one that was executing, and I was like the idea person and the design person, and she was the one. Like I had a full-time job. I worked in the coal industry up until the beginning of this year. Actually, it was 18 years. So she was running the business
wow,
basically from home while I was at
Mm.
work.
that's crazy.
Amazing.
That's
Well, Justin, we're going to do Ask AI segment. This is a fun little segment we do. We ask AI who our guest is to see what they come up with. This week's
Oh,
Ask AI is brought to you by our friends over at Tipton. Use code Whiskey10 at checkout and save yourself a couple of bucks.
Your workspace matters, and the Tipton Best Gun Vise 360 doesn't play around. Built for serious shooters, this vise locks down rifles, shotguns, and ARs with zero movement and full control. Tool-free adjustments, rock-solid clamping, and a 360-degree rotating cradle give you access from every angle. No shortcuts, no compromises. Whether you're building, cleaning, or dialing in, this vise was made to keep up. Tipton Best Gun Vise 360. Built to hold, built to work.
We asked AI, as soon as I pull it up here, who is Justin McMillion of JMAC Customs? Says Justin is the founder and owner of JMAC Customs, a West Virginia-based company that specializes in custom firearms parts and accessories, particularly for Kalashnikov pattern rifles and related platforms. He started JMAC around 2012, growing it into a niche manufacturer known for extremely high-quality components like muzzle devices, hand guards, barrels, stocks, gas blocks, and modular mounting systems that appeal to firearm enthusiasts and builders. With an engineering background and education from West Virginia University Institute of Technology, Justin applies technical insight to product design and development, including innovations like the MMS series of furniture. All JMAC Custom At JMAC Customs, he heads product strategy and shares his expertise through company content, reinforcing his reputation with the custom firearms community as a passionate designer and hands-on leader committed to quality and precision.
Dang.
wow. I'll take it.
It went deep, man.
Nailed it.
Yeah, they went deep on that. I like
Yeah, they
that.
did. Yeah, they did.
So,
I'm gonna have to
so
stop
Justin,
talking to
like,
AI so much. It knows too much about me.
Yeah.
it's catching you. Like, it almost told me your shampoo, and I was like, "Oh man, I'm gonna love this." So, let's rewind back a little further than further than the origins of JMac. Did you grow up around firearms? With your roots in West Virginia. Like, what was early Justin life like?
I've been around firearms since I was a little kid, ever since I could ever remember. Um, both on my mom and dad's sides were avid hunters, always shooting guns. And then I had a uncle who was he was in the Air Force, and he kind of probably was one of the early ones to get me into a military style firearms, we'll say. But most of my family was all, deer rifles or squirrels. And I'll tell you a funny story on my grandma. I would go stay with her, and she would give me a 22 and say, "Go get me some squirrels for dinner." So this is totally redneck, and I know I'm telling this on myself, but I'll go ahead and tell the story. But anyway, so I would take it, and I was like in middle school, like just a kid. I would go out with the 22, and I would bring her back like 5 squirrels from the woods, and she would cook them up for dinner. And she always told me that I never saw this, but she always told me that my papa loved the squirrel brains, to eat the squirrel brains. But yeah, she would make
Mm.
squirrels with gravy in the evening after I would go harvest the squirrels.
I don't mind squirrel at all.
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of like, it's funny because, under our current, I guess, our current climate of, of people in America, yeah, that sounds redneck, but to me, it's just getting back to our roots as humans, and like getting back to getting out there and doing it. I think it's funny though that how the times have changed. Like now, the thought of a grandparent handing a grandson a pistol and like, regardless of
I
go get us dinner,
Yeah.
that's, golly, we'd all be fried for that one. But it's something that we grew up doing.
I was probably on her nerve something. She just wanted me out of the house. "Here, take this gun and go get me some squirrels."
Take this gun and go play.
Take the gun from me
Yeah.
before I use it on you. Just get out of here.
Yeah. It's wild to think that, someone would hand a middle school aged person a firearm these days. Yeah, you go to jail for that or something. But yeah, it was no big deal back in the day. I mean, the guns were in
Oh,
like our family houses. They were just in a like a
yeah,
glass case. There wasn't a safe. It was just a glass case, and the key
yeah,
was always right in the door. So
Yeah,
even as a kid, we had access to firearms, and we could, look at them and of course watched. But it was a whole different, I think, time and sentiment back then. It's like there was nothing negative associated with firearms at that time, and no ill thoughts that would even cross anybody's mind. That was for hunting and for collecting, and most of the firearms, and I would say that it still applies to today, but everything in that was like, one day this will be mine type thing, so it was always like
heirloom.
passed down generation to generation. So
Yeah,
there was always a respect for firearms, and we were always taught at an early age, like the basic rules, like, don't point it at anybody. Every gun's loaded, like check everything first. So um, I think that should still be the thing. I think that firearms should still be treated that exact same way, that everyone should get that training, that
yeah,
everybody should, treat them that way, that they are something that is, I don't know. It's not a family thing as much as it used to be one day. So that's one thing that I want to do with my daughter, that,
yeah,
these are, yes, your inheritance, but let me explain what a gun is and what the Second Amendment is, and, why we have and are afforded those rights in this country, and what the difference is between this country and other countries. So
amen.
absolutely agree.
So, Justin, when did that, I guess, I mean, it's a family tradition, but when did that start to turn into you realizing you wanted to be a producer in firearms industry, or in the firearms industry in some shape or form?
I'm gonna tell on myself again here. I was a video game nerd at one point. So
That's all right.
I went from
We've
hunting,
all
That
played a little Call of Duty.
guns,
We've all
and
played.
then somewhere in like late high, so somewhere along high school, early college, I started getting into video games, first person shooters, third person shooters, Halo, Call of Duty, all of those, Modern Warfare, like all those games at that time. And
Yeah,
I really started to wanting to learn more about the military style firearms. I already had I grew up watching Rambo and had toy Uzis and that sort of thing. But that's what really got me into wanting to learn more about guns of war, military firearms, that sort of thing. So as I started diving into all of that, this was about the time that Obama was becoming president. And then, he gets on, and I'm not getting political whatsoever. He gets on the news, and he's talking about banning firearms and this and that. And I'm like, now's my time. So I literally went to a pawn shop. I bought an AR and I bought an AK. Like I got a Wasser and like a DPMS or something, whatever was cool at that time.
perfect.
Um, I just I just started learning about them. You know what I mean? I started taking them apart and trying to find like custom accessories for them. And what I quickly come to realize is like the AR at that time, they were just going from like the carry handle, which was what was everybody thought was cool at the time. And then now it was all flat top. So everybody's switching from carry handle to flat top. Nobody wanted the carry handle anymore. And then the AK side of things, it hadn't transitioned yet. Like there were no
no,
quality parts on the market for them. Like try to put an AK on, or try to put an optic on an AK in the early 2000s. You have side mounts, and that's about
mhm,
it. And hopefully your AK
yep,
has a side rail on it to attach the side mount. So I was,
right.
that's what really got me. I was wanting to collect the AKs for the cool factor, but then once I started trying to run and gun with them and shoot them and try to enjoy them, you can only I mean, you can have fun shooting irons, but when you try to make an AK more modern, you really start running into walls in the early 2000s. There was really, really not very many good accessories out there, and good luck putting a suppressor on one. That was unheard of at the time. So, yeah.
So so you guys started in what, around 2012. You've already mentioned that you kind of told Ash, "Hey, quit your job. We're going to start a business," and you did that. But what were those first products that you really set out and said, "Hey, above everything else, we've got to do these things right." What were those? What were those core product lines?
Well, we've always taken pride in anything clone that we do. If we say it's a clone product, if it's a replica product, you can literally take that side by side, one to one, and compare it. And like we exacting details, like we've always went for like over the top. Some people would just like say, "Oh, that's about a 2.37 radius, whatever." Like, no, we're going to put this in a comparator and see exactly what that is. And we're going to make this as clone correct as possible. We're probably going to have to put a JMAC stamp somewhere on it so it doesn't get confused as an original and passed off and sold on the secondary market for that. So I think we've always had that extreme attention to detail. That's always been a part of our business model. But I think the one thing that really that we pushed, the first marketing push ever, because you don't really need to market clone products. There's a market out there for them. You just need to make them available. The one thing that we really pushed was the RRD, which is recoil reduction device, and so that was our first self-designed muzzle device. And I wanted to do something a little different than what was currently available. The biggest downside of most muzzle brakes is they've got these giant fireballs, right? So we
Mhm.
spent probably 6 months and about 13, I think, different prototypes with a slow motion camera trying to determine how to lay out the baffle stack in the actual muzzle brake to not only reduce recoil but also reduce flash. And we finally dialed it in and got it perfected. So the RRD was our very first true big marketing push for any product, and it's been a huge success. It's trademarked. RRD, recoil reduction device, is trademarked, and all of our muzzle brakes, except like a couple, utilize that baffle spacing technology in order to not only reduce recoil, but also help reduce flash.
That's really cool to hear.
So, Justin, what were some of the earliest struggles? Like this is essentially a mom and pop business that you built in your garage, and you're known at this point for like a tier of design and machining that is, I mean, like it's out there with some of the really big names in this industry, if not, surpassing them. So, like, how do you achieve that from your garage, I guess? How do we get to there from the garage?
There was some major growing pains there. So I've already told you the story about the failed business model. Let's get past that. So after we went through the failed business model, the next struggle is I need an engineer. I'm an engineer, but I'm not a CAD guy. So, like, I did all of the designs myself in 3D CAD starting out. That's not like
Mm,
sustainable long term, like I did it for a while. And then the next part, and this is probably the most difficult part in any business, any manufacturing business, is finding reliable partners to machine your products. Unless you want to start a machine shop yourself, which I do not recommend as a business consultant. Machine shop is not a place to make money, just my personal opinion. Um, you have to find reliable partners who not only machine what you want machined, like that's part of it, right? It's about good communications, it's about working together on the designs, it's about trust, and it's about quality control. And those things, we went through probably 7 machine shops in a matter of like 3 or 4 years. It was very difficult, and then we finally partnered up with MDI, and MDI is what really, had us made a major jump from putting maybe 10 products on the market to, this year I think we're around somewhere around like 60 some products new on the market this year. Last year we did 87. So having those manufacturer partners that hit your quality marks, which is extremely important, that
Mhm.
take as much pride in making your product as we do in designing it. That's very important because we put a lot of extra thought, attention to detail in our components. So it's like, who's out there takes my business as serious as I do? It's really hard to find
Right.
those
Yeah.
partners.
Oh, yeah.
So linking up with those partners and slowly growing our manufacturing distribution network is definitely key. And then, Ash was shipping out of the dining room, so we had to set up a warehouse. That was a
Yeah.
major undertaking. So now we have a full warehouse with a team there that does all the shipping, and we might not be Amazon, but we're darn close. We do awesome at shipping, and we get the products out really
Awesome.
quick. So very happy with that.
Yeah, and, it's interesting, talking about it from the entrepreneurial side, you know, to have no everyone always tells you when you start a business, no one's gonna care about your business more than you do,
Mm.
not anybody. So when you find, a manufacturing partner to work with that does, care about your business because they care about their business. And, I can only imagine just, the subletting, basically the subcontract work. I mean, it seems like, oh, I want to start a company tomorrow. Well, cool, easy. Go find a machine shop and they'll make whatever you want. But most of those people are going to take it to the 10-yard line. They're not going to get in the end zone for you. There's only a handful of people that are going to say, okay, I see your vision and I see what you're trying to do, and we're going to communicate, and we're going to hit those deadlines, hit those cost points, and we're going to deliver you the product that you intended. Where other people are going to say, "Hey, I made this thing. I mean, it meets the standard." And I'm sure that's what you
Yep.
went through with those multiple.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and the thing with MDI too is we're sister companies, so we're financially independent and all that stuff. But we consider them part of us. So when we say it's made in-house, it's made at MDI. However, that's in-house to us because that's where the warehouse is. That's where, the machine shop is. That's where our media team works out of. So we wanted it to feel cohesive. We wanted it to be like one business, and we didn't want to have that contract machine shop feel. We've dealt with contract machine shops. Uh, it's totally different having someone that you work with versus someone that you provide work to. I feel like is would be the best way to explain that.
Awesome. Good. Well, yeah, always pays to have the best partners. So, Justin, let's take a quick break. We're gonna hear from our friends over at Wheeler Tools, and we'll be right back.
That's a sound done right. Scope rings, mounts, handguards, locked in with exact torque. Wheeler Fat Sticks don't guess, they deliver. Every click means you're dialed, not overdone. No strip threads, no compromise, just precision. Wheeler Fat Sticks. Hear the click, trust the build.
All right, everybody, welcome back from the break. Justin, let's jump into some of the products and innovations that you guys have brought to market. Tell us a little bit about your flagship lines, muzzle devices, stocks and braces, gas blocks, barrel scripts, all that stuff. Give us a quick rundown of those lines.
Hmm.
Where do you want to start?
Favorite, your favorite.
Oof, jeez, favorite.
See,
Lead us up to
So
MMS, because MMS is kind of it's like the pinnacle of everything tied together at this point, if
yeah,
I understand it
I,
correctly.
I'm gonna backtrack for 1 second, and I'll do MMS second because
Okay.
Mike asked what my favorite is. I think for me, I'm a huge suppressor fan. So if I can shoot suppressed
Mm.
or have a suppressor ready gun, I'm always going to choose that route. So, and I do like my muzzle brakes, obviously, because everything has a muzzle brake on it down here. Um,
Yes.
I think for me, putting an AK or putting a suppressor on an AK, it was like taboo. And you remember the YouTube videos,
Mhm.
you can't suppress an AK and blah, 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 this and that. So like we set out to let's it's got to be doable, right? So let's figure this out. Like why isn't there not mounts on the market for this? I mean, there's great suppressors out there, there's a ton of options for suppressors. All we need is the proper mount to connect the suppressor to the AK. So we did a bunch of homework and we finally figured out, like the issue most people were facing is that an AR has a shoulder on the barrel, whereas an AK has a
Mhm.
front sight. And if you try to
Mhm.
mount a mount up to the front sight, it's a cast part, so you never know what you're going to end up with. So all we had to do is make a simple face mount feature in our suppressor mounts. And by doing so, the face of the barrel is cut in a lathe, so it's 90 degrees no matter what. So as long as your suppressor mount has there's another trick with the threads that I'm not giving away on on here. But anyway, as long as the suppressor mount is lined up square with the front of the barrel, then 90% of the time you're going to have a concentric enough mount to put a suppressor on. The other issue
Correct.
with AKs, which is an actual issue, is when you do a cold hammer forging, the rod that actually forms the rifling, um, in that blank is not straight. So, like, if you did a
Mm.
cross-sectional cut of a barrel, that line is not like, if you measured it, it's not perfect all the way through, especially when you got a cold hammer forging machine, like, it's just not gonna be perfect. So whoever the manufacturer of the AK, and most of this at that time was imports. There wasn't really any US
Yeah.
options at that time. So if they didn't like cut the barrel, if they didn't turn the threads off of the center of the bore, then the bore could be off center with the end of the barrel. So that's a whole separate issue that you really can't address with a muzzle device. So my favorite product is putting suppressors on AKs. That's got to be
Mm.
definitely my favorite product. And we teamed up with Dead Air and we did the chemo system. And then, we made our own suppressor mount after some time, and
Show and tell,
super
show
happy
and
with
tell.
the way it turned out. So the issue with and there's pros as well. The cons of your QD systems: long, heavy, expensive. I mean, most QD adapters are
Mm.
$250. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
we wanted to do a built-in hub mount on a muzzle brake. So we did what we call our 360. This is the X37, and the suppressor, there is no adapter in this. This is just hub threads. So the suppressor just literally lines up on this and threads on. So no QD mounts, nothing. So you can see how close this suppressor is mounted to the actual firearm itself. If this had a QD adapter in it, it'd be that much farther up. So
Right.
making our own suppressor mount, I think this is probably one of my favorite features because regardless of what the gun is, whether it's got classic furniture on it, if I want to put a suppressor on it, I run this product. So I may not run the MMS on everything, but I definitely run this. So favorite. All right. I'm going to try to not knock a bunch of guns over. I got a bunch out for you. All right. So the MMS. We knew when we were going to put, or if we were going to put a, I don't know if you want to call it a chassis or an exoskeleton or whatever you want to call it. We didn't want this just to be another option. We wanted it to be the best option. And when I mean the best option, I'm not bragging,
Mm.
saying like we make only the best. I wanted it to provide certain features and functions that weren't currently available. And at that time, when we started the MMS, there are dust cover mounts out there, various different mounting systems, and there are handguards out there. And then there's some good handguards out there. I'm friends with Scott at RS Regulate. I like that dude a lot, and he makes some
Yeah.
great products. He makes great side mounts.
Solid dude.
But I wanted I'm huge in having the ability to have modularity. Like that's one of my favorite things. So I wanted a extremely modular system that you can, change out parts and do different things with. So when we were doing this, we wanted to have, the first goal was to have the lightest, I call it free float. It's not technically free float. There's not really a free float system on the market, but one of the lightest systems on the market for competitive shooters. That's who our target market was. So this only clamps in the barrel in one place, and it does not go into the receiver, which a lot of handguards do, and it does not interface with the retainer. So it is a, somewhat flexible free float system. And then we wanted to do, after most people don't know this, we did a GF5 burn down. And when we did that, we tested it with an aluminum gas tube. That was an SLR Rifle Works gas tube. And the failure point of all the burn down videos that I had previously seen on YouTube, the failure was that the gas block came away from the gas tube, not providing proper alignment for the gas piston to go back in the gas block. So when we did that burn down, we were testing the idea of whether we did a gas tube cover or a gas tube. Well, we proved that 7,700 rounds later, the gas tube, the aluminum gas tube, provided a mechanism for the piston to continue to return to the gas block. So we went with an aluminum gas tube for this system. So that was like year one. So 2 years later, we finally perfected our dust cover. Now that was a whole ordeal. So that was like, the handguard was pretty easy. And of course we made these for a bunch of different systems, different lengths, different gas tubes, all that
Yugos,
sort of
cranks,
thing.
AKM.
Now, the dust cover, on the other hand, if there's pretty much at this point, other than like RPKs and Vepers and stuff that have like a big like RPK style rear sight block, we pretty much have a handguard and gas tube for it now. So when we set out to do the dust cover, there are some patents on some dust covers out there. So we wanted to make sure that ours was unique and also held zero after multiple drops. So the one thing that we did that's super unique is this mount directly attaches to our lower handguard mount. It does not interface with the rear sight. You can still see the rear sight still intact. And it also, our lower mount allows you to use a cleaning rod, which a lot of other handguards, you can't use a cleaning rod once you do a modern handguard. But this system right here, which is patent pending, is our octagon cam washers. So if you think about doing an alignment on a vehicle, you've got basically a circle with an off-centered hole, right? And you rotate that hole in order to get the alignment of your caster, camber, toe, all that stuff. So we did the same thing. Exactly. So we did the same thing with this. It has 8 positions on either side, and you can move it forward, backwards, up, down, all those different settings. So you can have like full up, center, up, forward, back, back, up, back, forward, forward, down, 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 rear. So that allows this system to fit more and be more flexible, because what we found is when you go from manufacturer to manufacturer, like PSA's receivers just a little bit longer than like a standard Bulgarian receiver. So you have to move this further back. And that was a major challenge early on. It's like, how do we get this dust cover to come to the same point here? So having a fully adjustable front is probably one of the main features. But we also did a really unique feature with the recoil spring. So this is the recoil spring.
Yep.
You can see that's one piece. And then inside here, we have another piece. Yeah, see that? Let me
Yep.
skip forward a little bit.
And it forces it to reset center every time.
Mm-hmm. I
It's
do.
it's a big notch.
Sure, yeah.
Yep, and it interfaces with
Yeah.
the notch in the
Yeah.
dust
So
cover.
the other challenge was, the obvious, the pulling down of the dust cover. That's been solved years ago, right? That's just a little ramp on the bottom.
Mhm.
Nothing new there. The issue is getting this dust cover to stay centered left and right. So we did this built-in anchor that attaches to the rear trunnion and stays in place. And it's got this notch in the back of the dust cover. So when you close it, not only does it pull your windage, but it also fixes your elevation, or I got it backwards, but you know what I'm saying. It fixes your elevation and windage every time you open and close it and make sure
And
it's recentered. So we were super stoked to finally figure all that out.
But I as someone who has used lots of different pieces of furniture, parts and bits here and there, and different companies. Some of it's imported from former Soviet countries. Uh, Everything on an AK, and like you said, from manufacturer to manufacturer, there's just such minute differences. But everything on an AK has to be dremeled. Everything on an AK's got to be filed to get it to fit. Even those really, I'm not gonna brand drop anybody, but like those really expensive, hard to get Russian alpha parts stuff, like you will pay $10,000 to get it, and somebody will have had it on a bench grinder to make it fit their AK, and it won't fit your AK when you get it. And so, as full disclosure, Justin sent me an MMS kit, and I was skeptical because I used another company's chassis before that wrapped around a gun, and I'm like, that wasn't really my thing. But in putting the MMS system together, all of the little minute differences between everything is taken up with tension, and it's through design, not okay, we made it a little bigger than it needs to be, grind it to fit. And I especially with the camming washer, my mind was absolutely blown, and it was repeatable too. I took it off of my crink and put it on a buddy's crink that was different, and it did. It had to go on a little different, and this needed loosened and that needed tightened, but it was repeatable on a completely different gun. And for people who don't play with AKs on the regular basis, that level of modularity is unheard of in any other from any other manufacturer at that level.
I
Dang.
appreciate that, dude. Yeah.
Yeah,
Been a lot
it's
of time
true though.
on that one.
Like,
Yeah, it's just interesting though because it's a cam system like basically a wedge system where it's the custom wedges in different places and you wedge them how you need to, and it once it's in there, it shouldn't move, and that's awesome. So do you take that same design approach and testing approach with as much as possible? There's some things you don't need that much, of course, but, is that pretty much the approach or the JMAC standard when it comes to making parts is, hey, we're gonna test the crap out of this thing and we're gonna test it for durability and we're gonna take user feedback and, field use and all that stuff. How does that, I guess you're designing a new product. How does that product move forward?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And I'll be the first to admit, we make some parts that are, functional, but they don't really require a ton of engineering. Maybe they're more for aesthetics or maybe just a simple upgrade. And then we make some crazy parts, like we make the LAF muzzle brake. There's no real engineering in that. It was just like we were on a plane ride home, and I was like, I'm going to make the biggest flamethrower muzzle device ever. So there's always the products that are the exception to the rule, but it, man, I am so particular about designing and testing. And like, if I'm going to put something on the market and it's not better than something else, it's going back to the drawing board and we're going to make it we're going to make it better, and we're going to, fix it, fine tune it. And if it's not great, if it's not better than what's already out there, or at least a good alternative, I'm not going to put it on the market. We've got several products that we've designed that have never seen the light of day because I'm just not happy with them. So that was the same with this dust cover. It took almost 3 years to get the dust cover on the market because I was just so particular about it. And I was like, it's got to be the best, like hands down, got to be the best. And I'm not going to stop until it is. So definitely that's, and I've got another product here. It's a great time to talk about that one because it's the same exact thing. I told you I'd knock one over.
Like, how do you make MMS and also make a stock out of a shovel?
Yeah, exactly. So, like this is another one of the products that you're talking about, like simple engineering or do you go all in? We showed this at SHOT Show last year. This has been, we could have put this on the market a year ago easily, but we've made small tweaks to it along the way, and we're not going to put it out until it's like the best. So, this is our rapid adjustable stock. It should have already been on the market. Most companies would have already put it on the market. We've got a huge waiting list for this thing. Adjustable length of pull from 7 inches to 10 inches and a cheek rise from irons to EOTechs. There's a huge demand for this, but I'm not going to put it on the market until it's right.
Slick.
And that's just my philosophy.
Yeah. And
thanks, Dave.
So are you close with it? Because I mean, it looks really close.
It's like, but wait,
I'm sitting here looking at that like,
can I get one?
Well, no, I'm sitting here looking at that like, wait a minute, what we got working on that? That looks pretty good to me, And I get it. I'm not seeing it. I'm not holding. I'm not real world using it. But are we, don't want to put a number on it, but let's put a number on it. Are we 80%? Are we 90%? Are we 99.9? Where would you say right now you think you are with it?
90%.
There you go.
And he's lying.
We're getting close to
he's still really deep in just an OCD stage of that. I can tell.
Yeah, but that's cool though, because you got to respect somebody because
Amen.
in the market, just like he said, it looks fine to me. There are lots of companies out there, not AK companies, just gun manufacturing
in general.
We'll just go past guns and just
manufacturing
that would put that out there and make a stockpile of money and not worry about it. And say,
it's fine.
Get over it. But to sit back and literally every day that you guys hold that stock is one more day of money that you could be making. Now, the hope is to make it at the end game, but you got to respect somebody that holds on to that and says, no, I'm not going to sell out for the dollar. I'm going to make sure it's right because I'm more worried about my reputation. So hats off for that.
And man, that's what it is. Like, we're all here for a very short period of time, and I want to live my life to the fullest, and everything that I do, I treat it as art. I don't want to ever put anything out there and be like ashamed of it. So if I'm not sold 100%, if I wouldn't buy it myself, I just would never put it on the market. I just don't feel like it would be, I feel like it would be like mistreating my name, like mistreating my purpose here. I don't feel good about it.
Yeah, can't say anything about that.
Justin, I want to talk a little bit about your perspective of the gun industry, because you do kind of have a unique niche, and I think that you do offer a lot of good perspective. What kind of changes have you seen over your career since the start of JMAC? I mean, you make everything from, like I said, shovel butt stocks to what I think is the most advanced AK furniture set on the planet. So, like, what changes do you see? What kind of fads do you see that affect the aftermarket markets for firearms?
Well, let's talk about the elephant in the room. 7.62 by 39 and 5.45 ammo are not readily available and not cheap anymore. So,
no, they're not.
And let's talk about the second elephant in the room. ARs are cheap and AKs are expensive. So that's two
my God,
things.
it's such a weird world.
Yeah, if you ever told me that, like, Yeah, if you ever told me like that it would be more expensive to shoot an AK and that an AK would be more expensive to buy than an average AR, I would have laughed. Like it's just AKs have hang on. AKs have become the Gucci guns, but
Yeah.
only to the new people. The people who are hanging on to what the AK used to be, which is partly me, um, they no longer mesh with the today AK buyer because the today AK buyer sees it as a unique, different. It's boutique, however you want to look at it. Like the AK is now like the expensive gun, which is just blows
Mm.
my mind. The days of like $300 parts kits with original barrels. You don't have people tooling up in their own garage with a 20-ton Harbor Freight press anymore and building their own AKs. The kits just aren't here.
Yeah.
And what we're getting is kind of like the bottom of the barrel type stuff. So now we're kind of looking, you've got high end AK manufacturers who use a lot of surplus parts, and you have some using American made parts. And then you kind of have the budget AK American side of things, you know. You got Rally Defense, PSA, who are making more budget friendly options, Pioneer Arms, who are importing stuff from Poland. And then you've got the mighty Wasser that's right dab smack in the middle. So I feel like it's a really weird time for AKs. Uh, I wish ammo was cheaper because man, AKs were like super hot
Me
2
too.
years ago. Um, but
Mm.
I feel like we're seeing a different demographic for today's AK buyers versus what we saw 5 years ago.
I look at it, it's funny. I look at AKs like Bitcoin, honestly. You know, when I was ready and when
Okay, boomer.
no, but I'm saying when Bitcoin was 10 bucks, nobody wanted that. When I would walk through gun shows, there would be barrels of AKs and SKSs and Moisten the Gants, and it's like, nobody wants those clapped out things. Bring on the ARs. And now that the AR market is overran and the AK market has become very selective, we'll put it that way, where it's
Mm.
either you get a really good one or you get an entry level one. I mean, there's some middle ground, but you guys know what I mean. And now the AKs that I want are exactly what you said. They're Gucci guns. So it's kind of like Bitcoin now. And it's like, well, damn, I wish I'd have bought back then. That's how I feel about AKs is,
Yeah,
man, if I'd have bought all the ones that I walked past and said nobody wants for 100 bucks, 200 bucks at the gun shows,
you could
you
retire.
now look who's laughing. And
Yeah.
so that when I say it's like Bitcoin boomer, that's what I mean is, they they weren't cool. They for a long time they weren't cool. They were a niche product, but for the masses, it wasn't a cool thing. And Justin, you brought something up great. All the new shooters, they see the AK and they're like, oh man, that's what I want. That those things are cool. And now they have become the hard to get, you know, items when you want a real good one, you're gonna pay for it. And
Yeah.
that's just my 2 cents on it from looking at the outside perspective.
And we have a huge void in the AK market right now, in my personal opinion. You've got 800 to $1,000 gun, and then you've got 2,000 to $2,500 guns. So the Arsenal SLR series that we were talking about earlier, they don't exist anymore. Like with the quality
No.
imports that are just a little over $1,000 they're not here. So, like, you either choose that really high end custom, if you will, gun or a budget gun. There's nothing that's like, I'm going to go buy an Arsenal. I'm going to go buy a Saiga. Those guns just, they're not here anymore. So, I mean, Arsenal obviously has milled guns, but they're 2 grand. They're not
Yeah.
1,200 or whatever
Yeah.
SLRs were back in the day. So, if we had a good, solid SLR type gun coming into the country, I think it would change things a little bit. But of course, the hang up still would be the ammo and importing the ammo at
Mhm.
a good price.
So, we talked about the ammo availability of the classic 7.62 by 39 and 5.45 by 39 rounds of the AK, but it still seems maybe not as much as it was a year or two ago, but it still seems that the popularity of the AK is still growing. Um, every day there's a new content creator that's dedicated almost specifically to AKs. Everybody is still playing with AKs. What do you think the draw is now, Justin? Is it just wanting to do something different than an AR, or do you think that a lot of the draw is because of their exclusivity per se?
I wouldn't necessarily say that. Like, you got to give props for props due, and regardless of what
Mm.
you think about the company, PSA is putting some fun stuff out. I got this PSA
Yeah.
Crink. People might hate on it. I'm okay with that. But you got a 5.56 Crink and a 8.25-inch barrel. You're not going to shoot long range with it, but it's a great fun little gun, and the Crink itself is just such an iconic. The AKS-74U, the original, is such an iconic firearm that most enthusiasts are aware of it, whether they're AK people or not. So when PSA
Yeah.
does something fun like this in a caliber that's readily available, like 223, I think people get excited about owning something that's kind of like a iconic gun, but that they can shoot. So you
Mm.
got to give credit where credit's due. PSA is doing a great job at providing and filling those niche type firearms to the community. So they're kind of keeping the AK community alive when it comes to that. But if you're going to be a modern AK builder, I feel like if you're going to do like a full USA gun, if you could do like that $1,200 to $1,500 range in a 5.56, I don't think you could keep them in stock. And I think that's because
Mm.
an AK is just like, you can give and literally it was designed to be so. It's so simple to operate. It doesn't have, like, if you leave the safety off, it's super dangerous, I know. And have one in the chamber, you don't even have to think about anything. That's dumb, I know, right? But like an AR is not as easy to operate. You would have to train someone, I think, on an AR a little bit more. The mags kind of are a pain in the butt, but with this handy dandy mag funnel, that helps a lot.
Yeah.
I think the AK is just cool, man. I think it's just got its own vibe. It's got its own magnetism that an AR might not, because I think the AR has become too prominent and there's just so many options, you just get overwhelmed. Whereas the AR or the AK, there's still not very many options out there. And when you get it, it's unique. Not everybody has an AK. I guarantee you every gun guy has an AR, though.
Yeah, yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
it's true.
I can see that. So, what are what are some of the misconceptions people have about manufacturers like JMac when it comes to, you know, the quality or pricing or, it's a niche product or, you know, even just they're making them for that the AK platform in general. What are a lot of the big misconceptions you guys run into?
Hmm. Misconceptions as in why someone would argue not to purchase JMac or why they would think
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So, like, when people look at the JMac stuff, not to say everything is expensive because there's lots of stuff, and when I say expensive, they're packed full of value, so don't take that as disrespect. But, you are paying a premium price for premium products, and so when people look at some of your products, and you're coming out with, your stocks and your handguards and all that, there's always those people that are going to hate, and they give these reasons like, oh well, it won't work on yours, or oh, you know what I'm getting at.
Well, I think this is the perfect example. A PSA crank is like $1,000, and there's probably $3,000 worth of accessories or $4,000 worth of accessories on this gun. So I think it would be easy to argue that the AK, you would have to spend a lot of money on it to make it equivalent to the AR when it comes to modularity, being able to install a laser, a light, optics, all those sort of things. So yeah, I think you know what? We used to get a lot of flack for it when we first started out, that our prices were too high and this, that, and the other. But I think over time, people started to see the vision that we were laying out, that we weren't just putting out products for hype or to make money, because there's a lot of
Yeah.
hype companies out there. I like to think that we're not a hype company. I know we have pretty awesome marketing. I give the marketing team full credit on that. So we definitely have hype, marketing, but I don't consider JMac, and I hope people don't, a hype company. Like I don't really, I want to make
Mm.
good, solid products that are like considered the best option. So, there's going to be people who feel that our product is out of their scope of budget, and that's fine. We're focused on putting the best product on the market, and the things that we do too to do that. There's a lot of engineering and a lot of field testing, like we talked about, that goes into these. But there's not a single competitor that makes a dust cover out of 7075. They're all 6061. So 7075 is like 3 times more expensive and like 2.5 times stronger or something like that. So it's definitely a lot more costly to do this, but we're able to put a lighter, stronger product out because we used proper materials with really good engineering. So at the end of the day, and I don't mean this in a negative way at all, I would much rather put the best product out that some people may be out of their budget, than put mediocre products on the market that everybody can afford. And I don't mean that in any way about like people's budgets or what people make. My goal is to put out the best product at the end of the day. So if it's not in your budget, like check out our sales. We always, like, once a month we're doing a sale, and we always hook people up all the time too. So
Mhm.
we want to see our products out there, and we're not pricing it out of people's reach by any means. We price our products strictly based on what it's cost to manufacture. We don't have any crazy markups. We don't compare our parts to other parts and price them that way. It's just like, how much did it cost us to make it? And then, we've got to build in dealer and wholesale tiers and all that stuff, because if you want your products on the shelves of other stores, they've got to make money with it too.
Yeah.
So um,
Oh, yeah.
definitely, I would love to see as many people with JMac parts on their guns and appreciate them and enjoy them as possible. But at the end of the day, putting the best gear on the markets, that's our number one goal.
Yeah, you can't argue that.
Awesome. Well, let's take another quick break, and we're going to hear from our friends over at Frankfurt Arsenal.
When precision matters, every detail counts. The Frankfurt Arsenal IntelliDropper 2.0 takes accuracy to the next level with advanced sensors, a sleek touchscreen, and effortless calibration. Whether you're fine-tuning or loading in volume, the IntelliDropper 2.0 ensures confidence in every drop. Frankfurt Arsenal, precision starts here.
All right, everybody, welcome back from the break. Justin, we're going to shift gears a little bit. We're still going to tread along the lines of firearms and firearm entrepreneurship, but what type of stuff motivates you outside of firearms? Hobbies, life philosophies, other side projects that you're doing outside of JMAC?
Well, predominantly now is my 1-year-old daughter, and I told myself, as thank you. Before I actually made a pact that I wasn't gonna have kids. I didn't want kids. So, and I said if I ever had kids, that I would make sure that they would be my priority, that they would be number 1 to me, that I would spend time with them. So, I quit my job earlier this year in the coal industry of 18 years, and, I spend probably at least 5 to 6 hours at a minimum a day with my daughter now. I work from home, and I get to
Amazing.
spend most of my time with her. So, being a present father is probably number 1 at 1.5, because being a present husband is probably number 1. Being a present father is 1.5. So those 2 are the top of my list currently. But what motivates me? Designing products, dude. Like, I was built for that. Like, I was put here on this earth to engineer and design products. That's what makes me happy. That's what gets me going, and that's what I look forward to. Like, I have a Wednesday call every week, engineering, and man, I'm just so hyped. Like, that's like, I cannot wait till the next engineering call. I'm just constantly designing, thinking of ways to do things differently. My brain never turns off. I'm always coming up with ideas, and I'm trying to write as many down as possible. That's ultimately what makes me the happiest. Um,
Mm.
that's number 2. Number 3, I would say right now is I'm on a personal health and fitness journey myself. So,
Bravo.
last year when we found out we were pregnant, I was like, "Oh crap, I'm kinda old to have a baby, so, we need to get this, thing figured out. So yeah, so let's get in shape." I had high blood pressure. I have lived with it for a while now. So I wanted to I'm an anti-medicine type person. I don't like the doctor, I don't like medicine. So, um, I was able to get my health in check, which needed to happen. Stress was another thing that was absolutely killing me,
Yeah.
literally killing me. So, got that in check, and I work out every day and I eat healthy, and I take care of me for my daughter and my family because, I'm going to be not to throw out ages here, but I'm going to be 60 when she's graduating high school. So, uh, I've got to I've got to be her Superman, regardless. At the end of the day, I got to
Yeah.
be her Superman. So I've got to stay strong, hard to kill, and protect my family. That's ultimately, my goal with my personal health fitness journey. But yeah, man, that and then this vault down here, that's kind of a project that I got going on that's really kind of keeping me motivated and having fun doing. And I still like to play with guns, dude. I like to just take a gun off the wall, swap the grip out, change the muzzle device out, go
Yeah.
outside and shoot it, throw some subs in and shoot dirt. Like, dude, I'm just like a really like super laid back dude that really loves guns and really loves mechanical things, and loves his family. I guess I'll say that too.
I can
So
attest to
go ahead, Matt.
Oh, I was gonna say I can attest to that always designing something. I don't know Justin personally, but we are pretty friendly on social, hang out in a lot of the same Facebook groups and he is I think at the time of recording, this will be aired a couple months down the road, but he's basically having an online yard sale of things he's designed, things he's bought as inspiration, things that like he was trying to make this work with this and like there is this like plethora of never before seen JMAC stuff that all of a sudden became available and it's from his personal collection and it's like it's honestly pretty mind blowing. He has to have somebody else manage it so that he's not getting all the DMs of like, hey, what is this? How much does it cost? How many of these were made? But I was silly enough to be like, hey, what kind of stuff is available? And it's like, boom, here is a dictionary of stuff and all very nicely organized and now has cards with information on what it is. But I was like, this is a madman. This is a madman.
So Justin, talking about, taking care of yourself, taking care of your family, and taking care of this company, you know, when you first decided, many, many years ago, hey, we're going to start JMac, and you had an idea and you had a creative philosophy, and that has changed over the years. And in doing so, you've managed to build a growing team, and you guys all take pride in fostering innovation and craftsmanship and attention to detail. What what is your current leadership philosophy when it comes to other people that say, hey, I'd like to go out. I have a really good idea, regardless of what space we're in. I've got a really great idea, and I've always had this dream of doing this on my own. What wisdom would you impart?
Well, they're in luck because they have access to something that I didn't. When I started my business, I did not have a mentor. I did not have someone to point me in the right direction. I did not have the connections in the industry, in the world of machining, in anything. So I don't know if you prompted this question, if you did this intentionally or not, but I actually did start my own consult. Oh, you didn't? Okay. Well, I actually started my own consulting business because, like I said, this is what I love. Like designing products is what I love, and I was already doing this for other people in the industry. Like we've white labeled products for many different companies. We've co-launched products with several different companies like Goon Tape, Rainier Arms, just to name a few.
Hmm.
So like when I left the co industry, I was like, how am I going to feel my purpose outside of just JMac? Like JMac takes up a considerable amount of my brain power. But dude, like I said, I'm constantly innovating. I'm constantly thinking. So I was like, I'm already doing this for companies. Why don't I offer this to people to help them get their business started? How can I give someone an opportunity to live the American dream, to basically create their own way into freedom? So, we've got like everything from engineering, like if you just want us to draw up something, that's fine. We can help you, file a patent. We can do everything from design, manufacturing, all the way up to shipping. Like we can put that product in our warehouse. You can put it up on your website and you can ship, like you could orders roll in. You're just like, awesome. I just got another sale and it goes out the door. You don't ever have to
Drop
touch
ship.
it. So yeah. So like, I'm very limited to how many people I can take. So I'm probably going to get like 5,000 emails on this, but I usually do, maybe 5 to 10 a quarter of these ideas with people. And but man, I've been able to it's very for me, I'm giving someone the opportunity to build what we've been able to build. And by doing so, I was able to quit my job and spend time with my family. Like what better is there to having like time freedom? And I want people to have that. I want people to have access to the American dream and the opportunities. So, that to me is probably my current giving back type thing. I wanted to figure out a way that I could give back to help others. And that's it, man. Like I really, really, really enjoy it. I'm good at it. And I've helped a lot of people, design their own products, patent them and everything and get them on the market. So that's I guess that's it. That would be the answer to that question. I thought that was a prompted
Hats
question. I
off.
literally did.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's,
I wrote the outline. Mikey didn't know either. It was a surprise for everybody, I guess.
Oh,
well,
okay.
yeah, you surprised me. But I've seen you guys go on, even before the prompt of that, I've seen you guys go on there and you've talked to you and Ash have been on social media talking about how blessed you guys were and how talking about, how if you wanted to start a business, you're given some quick, startup cost facts and some quick entrepreneurial facts. And you can tell that, it's you've got a flair for it and it's something that is a passion project for you. So you can tell like you see the wheels turning when we talk about business and entrepreneurship. So, you can see that in you. So yeah, that was a cool question.
Yeah, and the thing is too, like at any level, we can probably help. And the one thing that you brought up, unless you've got another question prompted for this, you talked about the team. I I can't thank my team enough. Like building a team is the absolute it's a must. It's the best thing that you could possibly do, empowering your people and just leading them, not bossing them, not telling them what to do, letting them make mistakes, like obviously not bad mistakes, but like just being there for them, mentoring them. And like we've got the best, like we have the absolute best team ever to where if I want to just like go MIA for 3 days and just spend time with my daughter, I can catch up later and everything's fine. So once you get at a certain point in business when you're doing everything and it's just totally overwhelming, the team is that's the next step. Like you gotta have a good team. If you don't have a good team, if we didn't have a good team, JMac would have been capped, at just like maybe 50 accessories. It's there's you just gotta have a good team, and that's like the core to everything.
Yeah. Well, most of the time with as many directions as you were pulled as the business owner, you most of the time are your own limiting factor. It's there's only so much there's only so much just in time in the day. So
Yeah.
if you can't, there's no way to get it all done.
I've joked and said I could be easily a billionaire if I just had a line of people and I could just give every single one of them an idea. Go do this, go do this, go do this. Like that's how I'm just like constantly like nonstop output. I was born that way, man.
That's a cool way to be.
Good way. So, Justin, let's talk a little bit about JMac today and what we might see in the future. I know right now, I mean, we kind of hinted about it earlier. You started in the cloning of hard to get parts, and right now you've launched a whole lineup of Comblock clone appropriate, hard to find pieces. Tell us a little bit about that line, how we're going to see that develop into 2026, and then also what we might see coming down the line from JMac this year.
Awesome. Absolutely, man. So we had like a kind of like a, why are we doing this? What's our purpose? Every company should do that. Like maybe not every year, but maybe every other year. It's like, what's the purpose of JMac? Why are we designing these products? Who are they for? Just like a grounding session. And we're like, one of the things that we started off doing was like these replica parts. Why don't we do that anymore? It's just like, where did that go? Like, why do we just focus only on innovation and not doing, something for that segment of the market? So it's like, well, let's try it. But the one thing that comes with that is we're going back to pricing again. Um, all of those typically that type of customer is like the people who bought the $300 parts kits. So putting a,
Hmm.
80 or $100 muzzle device out just doesn't work. So we come up with a com block division. We're like, well, let's just have a whole division of JMac that focuses nothing on other than just like replica parts or aesthetically com block components.
Hmm.
I was like, but the catch is, and like this is me telling it to the business, the catch is they've got to be affordable. And when I mean affordable, like they've got to be much less expensive than our innovative products. So we went back and forth and we're like, how do we do this? Because our cost is our cost. So what it costs to manufacture a product doesn't change just because it's part of the com block division. So
Right.
we decided to cut out I mean, it just doesn't. So we just decided to cut out dealers. So this part is not available to a dealer. None of these products are available to dealers because the margin is just not there. So we cut out that entire portion of because a lot of people don't understand. Like and I saw
No, they
Sharps,
don't.
I'm going to give him props for this quote. Um, Sh John Sharp's post, I'm assuming it was him. He's like, "If you wanna make money, you enable other people to make money, and then you'll, reap the benefits of that." And that's true in this industry. You've gotta allow people to make money on your products, and that's sometimes unfortunate to the end user because it continues to elevate the MSRP. But we're like, all right, let's just cut the dealers out of this and we'll just do limited quantities. That's the other thing too, right? So we're only making X number of these ever. We're never doing a rerun of them. And when they're sold out, they're done. So it's kind of like, if you got one, it's really cool. And you say, hey, I got one. We're not flooding the market with it. It's kind of one of those things that, I think 10 years from now, people are like going to be begging us to make another run of them again because it's just super cool and it's super unique stuff. So like one of the parts that we recently did was this is a
The
pepper
pepper
pot
pot.
muzzle brake. Yeah. And man, this thing has been a hit. It's like people love it. So this was actually a prototype. M64 was a prototype rifle between the M60 and the M70. And they never manufactured it, they just made the M70, so technically this would be part of the M70 family, but, this was
Yugoslavia,
in
for
one of the
anybody who's
original
not tracking.
drawings. Oh, sorry, yeah, I guess I should have said that. This was part of the original drawing, and I was like, "Oh, wouldn't it be cool now that Zastava is importing these guns, wouldn't it be cool to have this as an available option?" So I actually drew this product up about 6 years ago. I've had this in the CAD files for about 6 years. And now when we did the com block launch, I'm like, no better time. So we made this and like everything com block related due to limited quantities and due to the great price value of these products. They're selling out like these sold out in 3 hours. actually. So the first
Lord.
drop sold out in 3 hours. So it's working really good for the com block stuff. Like that's that was another way for us to kind of like match what kind of is going on with the economy right now, provide value,
Yeah.
added options at a good price. So that's kind of the com block in a nutshell. But we've done a bunch of muzzle devices, replica muzzle devices, and then we also did one second.
I love show and tell.
Some of these sexy wood products. So this is a birch laminate grip finished in a beautiful Bakelite color. As you can see, it matches this Bakelite mag. And then we did a matching forward grip to that too. And this was also like that kind of retro look, right? This is a Draco. And, you know, I got the Bakelite upper, the Bakelite finish tab, and the Bakelite finish grip. Now, the one thing that we did a little bit different, instead of doing like a true clone of a grip, this is our modern grip angle. So instead of, you know, an AK grip actually comes back like kind of like this. This is more vertical. So we got a little bit of modern ergonomics with like the authentic look. And man, these just turned out so good. And then this is kind of like reminiscent of like the shark fin. So yeah. So the com block, man, it was a way for us to put some of the replica products, put those back on the market, and you know, cater to a little bit of different audience.
Awesome. So what else? What else do we? Excuse me. What else is JMAC working on right now? Comblock is out, doing really well. Couldn't I couldn't make it to the pepper pot. That's the one I missed. But what else is coming down the line? Because you still have developments in your muzzle devices. Tell us a little bit more.
Man, we've got a new product for every weekend for the first 3 months of 2026. That's kind of what kind of track we're on here. Yeah. But I think one of the most exciting ones is I was talking about finding good manufacturing partners and good partners in general. So JMAC is going to release our very first suppressor ever in 2026. And we're stoked to do it. Thank you. So this is the Banca. So the Banca is actually Russian. Mike, did you know this? Is that why you were laughing?
No, I like the name, so I'm stuck with it. I like it. Keep schooling me here. I love this.
So Banca is actually slang, and I confirmed this with my buddy Dima G, for suppressor in Russia. It actually translates loosely to can or jar, like soup can. And you can kind of see where we got the inspiration here too. So when we first did a prototype, this was it. This was Banca number 1. We had the larger rear portion here. This has a traditional baffle stack.
I've seen pictures of that one.
It was okay. It would have been a great suppressor to put on the market. It would have been affordable. But it doesn't really do anything new or different. So for me, with an AK, if I have to change 5 other components on my gun when I put a suppressor on it, it's probably not the right suppressor for the gun. So that's the issue with an AK beyond the concentricity of the barrel, is that you got to put a K&S piston on it, or you adjustable gas block, or whatever it may be to tune the gas system. Then you got to put a little, you know, rubber gasket in the back of the dust cover so you don't eat you know, debris and gases. So I've been working with Richmond Tactical for, I guess, 7 or 8 months now. And we went from a standard baffle stack to this. So this is a dual chamber. I don't know if you can see it.
Flow through.
So there's actually a suppressor down the middle, and then there's a suppressor on the outside. It's kind of hard to describe, but it's a dual chamber front exhaust. So this is where the typical suppressor exhaust exits. And then it's also got a secondary chamber on the outside that, I don't know if you guys can see that. Yeah. So see these drilled holes here?
Yep.
This is in a whole separate external chamber on the outside of this suppressor all the way through to these holes here. And by doing so, we were able to have nearly no back pressure whatsoever. This allows on full auto, typically when you go with full auto and you put a suppressor on and off, when you put a suppressor on, it increases the rate of speed. This does not. So we were able to completely almost eliminate back pressure by doing this type of design. The other cool thing too is with an AK, you got to worry about concentricity, baffle strikes, all that. We decided that we were going to make this for all AKs. So if you've got an AK, this is going to work on it. And what I mean by that is it's 5.56, 5.45, 7.62 by 39, 54R, 308, and 9mm. So we went with a 36 cal bore on this. So this will actually work with 9mm also. So, and it sounds great with 9mm subs, and it sounds amazing with 5.45, 5.56, 7.62. And the other thing that I wanted to do, putting a suppressor on the market, is if you've noticed, and there's a lot of new testing that's being done that's a lot better. But originally, it was like the microphone had to be 17.3 foot beside directly beside the suppressor. Who stands beside the suppressor? Like, that's not a realistic test for me. I want to see what it sounds like by my ear when I'm shooting it. So our goal was to reduce shooter's ear dB as much as possible with adding minimal to no back pressure. And that's what we've fully achieved with this design. So super stoked about this. This is the first suppressor that we're going to put on the market. I'll just leave it at that. And hopefully we're having this out we're machining them now. So hopefully have this out January, February, March timeframe. You'll start seeing some of them trickle out to content creators and maybe some businesses, some wholesale, retail, stuff like that. So,
dude, that's super cool.
What material is it?
This is 6ALV titanium.
Yeah, so I think it's cool that you did it. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say there's going to be two finishes, Comblock Carbon, and this is smoked brass. Comblock Carbon will be black Cerakote.
Yeah, and I think it's really cool though that you did that. And as soon as people hear, oh man, it's kind of one of the catch-all cans, like a hybrid 46 or something, like a 46 cal. You did 36 cal, so it would take all of them. So, for all the suppressor guys, they're like, then you talk about how you want to, make it pleasant to the shooter's ear. And we talk about DB at the shooter's ear. And we've had these debates with so many people, and we're right there with you. And, DB's one thing and then tone's another. And I would take, and, only a shooter that shoots it will know, but I'd take something that's 5 dB louder, so long as the tone sounds better to my ear. So for those guys that are like, hey, if I'm shooting, 5.56 out of this can, and this can's rated for 9mm, like, it's overboard suppressor. Well, yeah, in that situation it is, but as long as you're getting the tone you're looking for and you're getting the decibel drop that should occur already, like, it's a win-win and you need to do it. I think that's really cool. And I'm sure once you get there, just like everybody else, your next phase is probably going to be caliber specific, or, certain ones, they'll leak out eventually. But I think it's really cool. And it's a great time to bring it out because with everything going on with the NFA, what better time than now?
Yep. So the other thing too that we found is the AK and the AR's sort of this way, not quite as bad, because maybe it's just something different on how the system operates, but the port pop on an AK with a high back pressure suppressor is extremely loud. It's actually what causes the AK to be super loud. And what people don't talk about is the K&S piston will absolutely reduce the amount of force that is exerted on the bolt carrier. but it doesn't reduce the gas. So all of that gas that K&S is allowing to pass is coming straight out. And it's a great product. I'm just saying the port pop of an AK is one of the loudest things when you're running an AK suppressed. So reducing the overall gassing of the system through a lower back pressure suppressor is 100% the best way to reduce the loudness of an AK, if you will.
Hmm. I haven't heard somebody comment on that too much, and, like, as a southpaw case or port what were you calling it? Port pop?
Yeah.
Port
Port
pop?
pop, yeah. I don't know if that's a term.
Port
That's
pop
something I say.
I'm using it, I'm sending it. So port pop is definitely, something I guess I'm a little more sensitive to because 'cause I'm always just with my face right there by the ejection port. Um, and so to hear that that's even on someone's mind when it comes to the sound of a suppressor and the efficiency of the entire system, makes me hopeful. I can't wait to see these on the market. They're gonna be cool.
And for anybody watching this,
Justin,
check out Richmond Tactical. They have amazing suppressors already on the market, so I just wanted to drop them a plug too.
awesome.
That's
Uh,
awesome. Yeah, this is perfect time too, Justin, because this episode's going to drop right at the end of January, 1st of February. So there's already going to be some of your products rolling out, and then
Oh,
that
yeah.
suppressor, it may have already been released. It may be released right now, or it might be released in a couple weeks. But we're right in
it'll be
that spot
timed well.
where it's going to be a perfect timing.
Awesome. Yeah, as far as other new
So
products, man, I could talk for an hour, but I'm sure you guys have other things you wanna talk about.
no, I think that's a good touch up and gives people something to be excited for and knowing that that there's so much coming, especially in the first of the year. As I think that's really great insight into JMac. So thank you for that. Um,
Of course.
Justin, outside of JMac, um, and just from your perspective, especially on custom firearms and higher end firearm accessories, where do you see the industry going? Customization trends, integrated suppressor platforms, material tech, additive manufacturing. What do you think we're going to see in over the next 5 years when it comes to customizing firearms?
Gotta say it. There's gonna be people using AI design products. That's gonna happen, and we're not too far off
Mm,
from it. AI, whatever AI's got going on now is not working, but, before too long, AI will make several millionaires in any industry, but that will not be, not true about the firearm industry. So I feel like AI is going to be you're going to have people who have never been in the firearms industry before. They're going to have a pop-up company that have AI developments, whether it be technology or actually products. You'll see that happen. Additive manufacturing. Call me a hater if you want to. I don't care. Is not where it needs to be yet, but it will get there. I think we are
yeah.
moving in the right direction for additive manufacturing. I think there's some great suppressors out there using additive manufacturing. But even more importantly, you're going to see more additive manufacturing for products other than suppressors. I think that you're going to see it being more widely used as the technology becomes more readily available and more affordable. And then,
Yeah.
5 years from now, it's like I would say that most suppressors are going to lean towards that direction as the technology improves. Call me old school, but that's pretty. I
That
love
is
machine
gorgeous.
products.
Yeah.
uh, and like I said, the technology of sorry, what'd you say?
No, I just said there's something to be said for a machined product, though. I mean,
Mhm.
regardless of how
Yeah.
perfect, how tight the tolerances are on 3D printing, something that was made you know, with CNC machines and with the aid of, human interaction is like it there's something to be said for it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you're gonna see probably with the assistance of AI, you're going to see newer technology for firearms actually come out. We've really not had new technology for firearms for over 100 years now. So I feel like we're
Yeah.
kind of on the cusp of figuring out something that's we've never thought about or never seen or never done before. I've worked and I work a lot with AI, and I've learned a lot from AI. And I had AI design the perfect suppressor, and it would take a chemist to help me decode what AI told me to how to build a suppressor. But someone's going to decode it, and someone's going to be the first on the market to
Mm.
do that. So I'm not saying everybody go run to AI, but I think if you don't understand and know how to use AI or understand how it works in today's like world, you're way behind. You should definitely learn, understand, and know its purpose and function. And as far as like, I don't want to sound negative here, but I have to be blunt and honest about this. The economy sucks. It just does. The money's not there. You're going to see a lot of
Yeah.
companies that make lower tier, mid tier products that have a ton of competition really, really struggle over the next 2 years. They're not going to,
Mm.
they're going to have to find a reason to have people buy their products. Um, and that's, I mean, like I would say the whole firearms industry, and this isn't exclusive to firearms. I'd say it's down anywhere between 30 and 60% from what I'm hearing from the people that we work with. So if you don't have something that really differentiates yourself from other companies, or if man, if you're in the race to the bottom, like you're gonna really struggle over the next 2 years to stay in the game. So I would my recommendation for anybody like that is find a niche or start working on quality innovation to really get yourself to stand out. But I would say that you're going to see the people that have money, they're not affected by this economy. So you're going to see the firearms industry, the people that are doing good, are there people who have the bougie stuff, like uh, the Terran Tacticals of the world, like they're insulated from this economy. They have $7,000 pistols. Like they don't care. And their customers don't care. Like they can continue that sort of business model
Mm.
indefinitely because Hollywood doesn't, they don't ever trim back on spending when the economy's like this.
No, they don't run
So
out of
I
money.
feel Eh yeah, so my advice to someone who wanted to start a business is, like, go super boutique, go super high-end, super quality, and just literally make the absolute best of whatever you make and put it on the market and find, like, that right customer. That would that's gonna kind of insulate you from what we're seeing right now. The other thing too is value, man. If you're not providing value in today's market, man, it's gonna be this is the next couple of years is gonna be really tough for you. So I don't know if I really said which way I saw the the business going, but I really think it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for a lot of companies, and I mean, we've had to even make changes at JMAC too. Like I said, with the comm block division, putting a more affordable product on the market, and then we're looking at pulling some of our other mainstream products from dealers and cutting, out that pricing tier so we can, be more competitive in that market too.
It seems that's the way it's going right now, as a dealer, and, it seems like there's a lot more companies that are pulling their dealership licenses from people and just basically saying, "Hey, it's nothing against you. It's if we wanna remain competitive, we're gonna have to go straight to, straight direct to consumer." And lots of people get mad when they hear that, but, like, "Oh, they're just greedy, they want more money." And it's not that it's greed, but they wanna be able to bring you something at a cheaper price, and if the price doesn't drop that much, people get mad, but in reality, when you remove the dealer from the equation, especially if you're working with serialized parts, there's so much more that goes into controlling what ships out, and So you have to have a whole department for that. But it really is, most people that do that are really trying their best to, bring the savings along to the end customer. And it's done intentionally. And that's, at least that's what they're hoping. So I'm glad to see that you're doing some of that too. It's really cool.
I'm gonna say it, although I shouldn't, and I'll probably regret it later. This is the worst thing for that sort of like, just the whole, like, ecosystem of,
Yes.
like, wholesale, dealer. These in general, if the and I love our dealers and I love our distributors, and I'm not cutting on it. We are
Yeah.
so thankful. We have some amazing dealers and distributors, but that whole, everybody gets a piece of the pie, ultimately,
Compliance.
affects the end users the most.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have a whole new compliance department just because of that right there. Just
Yeah.
literally having that suppressor is, if you didn't have compliance before, like, you got it now. And you get inspections, and we get brother ATF coming to visit us now, and all those good things. So it's like, man, if you would still have the ATF visiting you regardless if you were making them and going to dealer. But, it's like, man, all those compliance things cost money. So yeah, it is easier to shed that middleman and, save the customer a little bit of coin.
Absolutely, yeah. And the other thing too is, like, suppressors are expensive to manufacture just in general, but, it's like that it's just, I don't even know how to say it with and be politically correct. I feel like there could be a better way to do this, and we could all agree on how to do it, but there's really not a lot of meat on a suppressor anyway, because you have to be competitively priced when you put a suppressor out there, so
Hmm.
No, you're right. And then when you take the time and you use your engineering background and, everything, all the experience and life lessons that you have, as well as your engineering team that does all those things, and you guys stockpile all of that knowledge and you put it all together and you create the best thing you possibly can. And then there's a pop-up shop somewhere that water jets it in half and makes the 3 changes to it so you can't get sued, and they make it out of cheap metal, and they're like, "Hey, here's what we
yeah,
got." And you're just like, "Are you kidding me?" Like, and that's something that happens in any industry.
Yeah.
There's
Oh yeah.
always that, "Hey, we got so and so at home." But it it's a tough business. It's tough, and you gotta be confident in your product and know that no matter what happens, you're gonna be the guy that, is building the thing that's meant to last, and you're not trying to just, you know, take advantage of the industry right now where there's no tax stamp. And I think it's really cool. I'm excited to see how this thing goes. I hope Matt gets one so I can shoot it.
You don't shoot AKs, Mikey.
I think,
I'll shoot your AK.
hey, it
You
works
didn't
great
know.
on
I've
anything,
flown
like,
to two different states. I've
You
flown to
know
two
what?
different states with my AK and tried to get you to shoot it, and you wouldn't.
Screw this. I'm gonna be the first of us to own a JMAC suppressor. Screw it.
I hate you.
there we go. I will say the other
Just
thing
go ahead.
too is any business. No, I was just gonna say any business that's, like, wanting to put a product on the market, um, you've gotta make the choice of, am I gonna sell a bunch of these, or am I gonna sell a small batch of quality products? There's always the Walmarts of the world who's gonna like, you've got, and I don't mean Walmarts as in, as I'm saying cheap. You've got Magpul's a perfect example. Magpul does plastic injection parts at a very good price, and they have a great reputation, and they do a really good job. They made a decision early on that they're going to sell a massive quantity of products. They chose the quantity portion of that, and that's great, and it's worked out really, really well for them, and they've done extremely well. So we never really saw ourselves being that, because I mean, it would be great to sell millions of products annually and have this incredible revenue coming in, but my perfectionism and attention to detail, like, my brain can't wrap myself around, like, how many people would you have to hire to check all of these individual parts to make sure everyone meets if it's got a JMac logo on it, it's been inspected like 5 times at a minimum, before it ever even goes off to finishing, and then it comes back and it gets inspected again, and then it gets inspected again before it goes into the packaging. So, like, I just feel like y you would definitely hire a lot of people and employ a lot of people, but I kind of I never see JMac being a quantity company ever, so I feel like I would just rather put, like, really good products on the market at even if they're kind of boutique in some way.
Yeah, I'd rather you not change that either. I think that's cool.
Well, Justin,
Matt, I
I
think it's
think
time, bro.
is it that time? All right, I think it's about that time, Justin. So, my favorite part of the show. This is Justin outside of JMac, outside of. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be some AKs in there, but outside of just AKs, we want to know, Justin, what are your top 5 guns? It is not the zombie apocalypse or World War III, and the NFA does not apply, so it could be anything. But you got to cover all the types of shooting you like to do. So, what 5 guns is Justin McMillion taking with him?
Well, I'm gonna have to start the list. Call me simple. I'm gonna start the list with a Draco. Can't go wrong with a
Yeah,
Draco.
yeah.
Full-size Draco, put a stock on it, put an optic on it, put you a flashlight on it. You could modernize it or not. This thing right here, I'd throw in my truck and I would totally trust my life to it. So I feel like you can't go wrong with a classic Draco that's
Workhorse.
been exactly. It's just awesome. Um, Number two, which is probably actually number one, but it's not very well, I guess it kind of is, but it really isn't. It's a little bit larger, but it's got to be the PKM. PKM is just the
Yes.
ep- epitome of the belt fed. Like, it doesn't get any better as a
Yes.
belt fed to me than the PKM. It's light enough to carry it around. You can shoot it off your shoulder, uh, and you got a lot of firepower at a pretty quick rate coming out of the end of that, and you can still get some good ammo for it if you know what I mean. So definitely PKM number two. Ooh, PPSH 41.
Oh,
I'm going old
all
school
right.
today. Uh, the cyclic rate, the absolute controllability, it's pretty big, it's long, uh, but like you could put a lot of holes in paper in the same spot in a really short amount of time. That thing's like what,
Oh,
1,200 rounds a
oh,
minute or
bullet hose.
faster?
Yeah, dude, it's
Yeah,
quick.
and man, it's so controllable. It's like it is probably one of the best designed submachine guns in my opinion. It's really and it's cheaply made, but it man, it just shoots so great.
Simple, yeah. It's a simple gun.
I'm probably
That's
gonna
3.
disagree with myself later. Yeah, I know. Number 4, at just for cool factor. You gotta have the dual clobs. VZ61, Scorpions, suppressed.
All right.
You gotta go with
They're
that.
good. Scorpions are cool.
It's
Scorpions are cool. You can't go wrong with that.
you can't go wrong with the Scorpions. Mine, they fail to feed and do all kinds of crap all the time, but they're just my
When
video
they
game and
run,
N64 days.
yeah,
Yeah, man,
when you get them to
that's
run
just one
right,
of those.
they're beat.
Absolutely. Ooh, let's see. Number 5. We're in number 5 now, right?
Yep, you got this is your last one.
10-inch FAL full auto with a Rhodesian paint
Oh yeah.
job
Hey, I even like the paint job, man.
and a
I'm down
huge
with that.
muzzle brake.
On a 10-inch
Oh,
Avail.
That thing is
good.
a that thing is a dream machine to shoot, man. It has gotta be for a 308 caliber machine gun, it's gotta be one of the smoothest things I've ever fired. I've got the G3K in full auto, and I'm telling you, it will absolutely work you around the ring. That foul with the big muzzle brake is just the action's glass, and it's just so smooth and so obnoxiously loud and just amazing. Just absolutely just a dream to shoot. So I'm going to put that at number 5. I'm probably going to say that I missed out on something, but actually all of my top guns could be AKs, but I just left it at the Draco. So
Well, Justin, we want to thank you again very much for taking the time away from your family to join us here on Whiskey and Windage. Had a great sit down, great chat, getting to talk with you and talk about JMac. So thank you again for that. If everybody who's still listening, like, share, don't forget to comment. If you've got a question for Justin, leave it here on YouTube. Leave a comment down there. I'll make sure that it gets over to him. He's pretty active on socials, so he'll answer those questions for you. We want to thank you guys for tuning in on behalf of Justin, Mike, and myself. Thanks for watching Whiskey and Windage. We'll see you next week.